Okay, let's move on to topic 2, which is a much more serious, depressing, hardcore topic. We're gonna talk about Somi's debut. No, no.
I was wondering, I'm like, man, we should have made that a topic. I could go on for hours about that.
We'll save that for releases, I guess. That's another horrible, sad topic. But no, there's some much more serious, important news that we should probably talk about that came out this week. So we're gonna talk about BI from iKon's drug scandal, as well as what that kind of caused within YG. So I guess I'll just go over like the timeline first, and then we could just discuss what you guys think of what this means for the industry and stuff like that. So like earlier this week, Dispatch kind of released some information about BI being involved in a drug scandal. I don't remember if it was him trying to buy or just him using drugs. It was
Mix
LS.
of both.
It was
Yeah.
LSD and weed. So obviously, if you don't know much about Korea's culture and stuff, they're pretty conservative, especially when it comes to stuff like this. So even weed's a pretty big deal when it comes to like sentencing and stuff. So yeah, going above that to like LSD, I'm sure is probably pretty bad. But yeah, so they released that, and I think like right away YG did their usual deny thing, and then within 4 hours he had left the group of iKon and left YG, which is pretty like. So it seemed like the evidence was pretty concrete, and so he clearly had to leave. Like he's not gonna, like that's just what happens in these situations. You're not going to stay and completely ruin, like the company's not going to want to keep you, first of all. Two, like most people aren't going to want to ruin the reputation of their whole group and like all their friends or whatever. So that's not surprising. Now what that means for iKon we'll get into, because he was their main producer, and kind of like their main person in the group. So, and he did a lot of producing for YG just in general. So we'll talk about that as well. But then we find out it gets a little bit deeper. So Hanso Hee was involved. If you don't know who she was a former YG trainee. She was involved, was it last year with Top's drug scandal? Was
So
that
what,
last
2 years
year?
ago?
2 years ago? Was it that long ago already?
Yeah. Because it
Um,
was like when he was like starting off in the military, wasn't it?
yeah,
Or I don't know.
maybe.
It was
I
I
don't,
think 2 years
it's
ago.
okay. So yeah, she was the trainee that like got caught with Top like smoking weed, and hanging out, and kind of like there was a whole scandal involved there. So she apparently was also involved in this, and she supposedly, her and YG had conversations about like what to do with this like scandal and like how to cover up the fact that they're using drugs and stuff. So that leaked, which is a really big deal. I don't think it's really surprising to most of us, because so I don't know about, yeah, you guys, listeners, you're gonna get a fresh perspective maybe on YG and this whole situation, because you've heard me, Jacob, and Andrew talk about it a lot, and talk about how we hate YG and he's ruining the company and everything. I'm sure you guys probably agree with that at this point, but maybe you'll get a different perspective. Maybe you're like, nope, YG's right. We're gonna defend him.
Yeah, don't you know we're the biggest YG fans,
Yeah, definitely,
obviously.
exactly. Um, no, yeah. So some stuff goes around with her talking to YG, and I think some text messages were revealed and stuff as well. So yeah, it got all the way up to YG himself, which is a pretty big deal, obviously, and he ended up leaving the company, as well as his brother, who was the CEO, has also stepped down. So, with that being said, I guess let's start with Sam. What do you think of all this? What what do you think this means for YG? What do you think this means for the industry as a whole? YG the company and YG the person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't even know if this is really even going to affect anything. Because I mean, like, sure, the YG, like YG and his brother, like they step down, like that doesn't necessarily mean they're gone. Like they're still the biggest like shareholders of the company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they still have influence. Like so it's I mean the whole talk is like, you know, if the next person's just going to be like a puppet, I guess, which I don't know how true that I don't know how any of this works. Like so I don't want to be like talking as if like I know exactly what's going to happen because I have no idea. And like as for iKon, like I don't even know what like is going to happen there. Like I don't know, YG is just a huge train wreck. And it's one thing I was like trying to
Yeah,
think
it's
about
not
like
been a good year.
no. Like what's one good thing they've done? I have no idea. Like this year. But it's just like I'm wondering like how different this would have played out if there wasn't like the Burning Suns stuff from earlier this
Oh
year.
yeah,
If
yeah,
because it was how like BI left was so fast. Like that
yeah,
thing was
yeah,
just bam, 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 it's over. He's gone. Now YG's gone. Like it just went by, which was pretty insane. Because it's
mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like this isn't their first drug scandal. You
Yeah.
know, I feel like they
So
constantly are trying to I mean, like GD's still around. Like he had
yeah, yeah,
his I mean, Top's I guess kind of different since he's in the military. So like I guess we don't really know what's gonna happen when he comes back. Like if
yeah,
he's but now who has any like who knows what happens to Big Bang now with you know
yeah.
with Sungri and then YG's gone. Like this whole thing is just I don't think anyone can actually predict what's gonna happen in
Yeah,
this because yeah
it's one thing I forgot to mention, which makes like ties into the Burning Sun scandal thing, is there's also when all this drug like stuff came out, also came out that like BI had previous like drug like accusations that were swept under the rug by like police and stuff, so that kind of ties in with the Burning Sun stuff of like police corruption and YG getting special treatment, like the company and their artists and stuff, kind of being able to do these illegal things and getting away with them. So I think that had a big like just a big effect on how all this played out, because there's already so much like scrutiny for them with all the police corruption and everything involving Burning Sun, that the fact that like, oh well, one of their members was using drugs, or like one of their trainee or not trainees artists was using drugs, and they were able to get away with it even though they were caught by police. Like
mm-hmm.
they can't deal with that again. They just have to let him go.
yeah and it's just like it makes me wonder like how deep does this really go. Like it's almost like even like more suspicious because like they step down, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like there's something else there that like they just I don't even know, but I mean, from what I've kind of gathered, it sounds like Hanso he like it sounds like she just knows things and she kind of just doesn't give a fuck
Oh
anymore.
yeah,
It
yeah,
sounds like she knows a lot of things.
Yeah,
yeah,
because
definitely.
she was almost calculated like in all this because
Yeah.
when she met with YG to like
Mm-hmm.
to you know change her story or get her story right or whatever how he like kind of phrased it, like she took a picture of like herself at the building of like proof that like she was there, this meeting happened and like everything like it sounds like she just doesn't care and she is just gonna kind of spill everything, which I mean I mean I'm okay with that. I mean I can see how it sounds like very like villainous of her. I mean she has such a bad reputation. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? I don't think she's like a great person, but
Well, no, I mean
she does
she's the one hanging out and like doing weed, like smoking weed and doing
yeah,
LSD with
which
Bi
it's
and
like
Top and stuff. Like,
which like is there's nothing really wrong with that. I mean,
no, but
that's my own personal
yeah,
view
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
that whole thing.
yeah,
But I mean, I do understand the whole like she is kind of, you know, ruining these idols' lives and reputations, but it's
yeah.
not like it's
No,
her fault
they're not ruining their own
entirely.
Yeah.
reputations or anything.
Yeah,
But it's all her fault.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
this is
And
what the fans would think.
exactly. So I think I don't know, it'll be interesting to see, yeah, what comes of YG. Like how many more artists are really like in this? Because then like
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
because part of it also is funny because you know Bi had his announcement where you know he said like he admitted to you know I guess, buying or, the conversation, which I mean, there's proof of the conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
But he said he never used it, which
I'm just buying this LSD
Yeah.
to just have it. Like, I'm not
and it
gonna
was
use
a
it.
ton. It was a ton. It was like $1,000+ worth of
Oh, really?
LSD.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was like 10 sheets.
missed
There's
that part.
like he asked specifically of like an amount to pay, and she was like, "Yeah, that's gonna cost like over $1,000." And he even in the text conversation, it even like flat out admitted that he had. I'm thinking it's smoked weed with her because it said
Yeah,
something
well, that's what
like,
she
"We've
did with
done it."
Top.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, we've done it before." So I'm like, okay, well, they've obviously have smoked weed, and he's talking in the text conversation that he enjoys weed. So I'm like, okay, so that happened. And then the guy from Winter then
Oh
like
yeah,
comes into this.
Yep, I
And he
forgot.
like is like, no, yeah, he used it and he failed his drug test, even though YG was like they didn't, which this was another thing. What's the point of the drug
Drug
test,
tests.
really?
If you know all your artists are
Because they're
doing
obviously not
drugs,
kicking, they're not going
and
to
they're
kick
not
a
kicking
member
him out.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so they know, I guess, and they can try to
Like, yeah, maybe
like
temper
prepare.
Yeah.
But I thought that was so funny. It's like he gets a drug test from like the US or something like that. It was interesting. And yeah, so I guess he failed it. And like the whole thing was funny. And then he like, he messages Kim So Hee like, hey, like, you have to, or Han So Hee, I got her name wrong. Whoops. And it's like, hey, meet me at the YG office. And then like she gets there and it's like a different guy pretty much saying like, you can't tell anyone that this happened. It's
Like
like
a shakedown.
this is
Yeah,
so
basically.
weird. Yeah.
What do you think, Baron?
I was like, I saw the story when it initially happened, and I was like making jokes in Discord about it, and then I kind of like tuned out for a little bit, and then I came back, and it was like he quit iKon, he's gone, like YG's in shambles, everybody's quitting. Like it seemed like it happened so quick, and it caught me off guard.
It definitely
because,
did.
Like you would have thought, or at least I would have thought, that if like this mass exodus of like the top officials of the company was going to happen, it would have happened after Burning Sun and not after this.
Yeah, exactly.
That part like doesn't really make sense to me. So I have to like imagine that there's like more.
Exactly. That's why I think there's more. There's
Yeah.
gotta be for this because it's like how with Sungri, like the minute something was said, he like left,
Yeah.
and then we got all this other information of like that's why I feel like there's got to be the same thing happening here.
I think either there's more to it or the fact that the evidence is so much more concrete, where with Burning Sun there's so much involved and they like it was so like entangled and just calculated. Like I feel like they planned for that to get out at some point, or like not planned, obviously they didn't want it to get out, but like they had contingency plans. They were prepared for that to get out, and they had people that they could rely on as like fall guys. Like Sungri was clearly not the head of that ring of prostitution and drugs and sex trafficking, but it almost seemed like he was a fall guy. Obviously he was guilty and involved, but he wasn't running that. I feel like I feel like YG is running all of this. But for this, the evidence is so much more concrete, like directly to him. That maybe that might be the reason why he finally was like, I have to step down, because like there's just record of him directly involved in all this, where he could probably kind of like squeeze his way out of all the Burning Sun stuff if he tried, or like I'm sure he had plans to get out of that.
And was there like evidence that implicated his brother, the CEO, or something? Like I was a little bit confused why he left as well.
No, I think that's more of just like, I'm quitting, but my brother's gonna stay CEO, so like that doesn't really
I think it's just
change
get rid
anything.
Of the family.
So it was like, if I'm leaving, like if he's getting kicked out and leaving, like they have to kick him out, because otherwise like people are just gonna assume that he's running it through his brother.
And because this is a little like in my wheelhouse a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say this like this fits you a little bit.
I was curious about like how much of the company he owned and like how much control he had over voting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like he only owns I mean he's the largest shareholder and he owns like a little bit over 17%.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like it's very odd for a public company because they have like 18 million total shares, but only 9 million of those are held by the public, and half of all the shares, like over half, are held by like the company itself, directors or affiliates of the directors. So like
Okay.
that means like because I assume it's mostly YG himself and his family members that own the majority of that 50%. So
Yeah.
like they still have full control over the company, even though it's a publicly traded company and they have no official involvement with it. So I am curious to see like who they're going to choose as their next CEO and whether or not that affects like where what direction, because it's obvious they need like a rebranding and they need to like
Oh yeah,
reshuffle some things.
this
Yeah.
company, honestly, like they should just close it and just start new. Like at
Yeah.
this point, like I feel like starting a brand new company that's like, okay, but having the artists from YG would just
Yeah.
be a much better PR than trying to rebrand or revive
It
YG.
should just all go to Psy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to take like a lot of effort, I think.
That's the other thing
Yeah.
I wonder, like, because big three. I feel like they're no longer going to be a
Oh,
big
well,
three.
I mean, that even happened a few, like 3 or 4 months ago. I think like the media termed it like the big four now, and it was without YG even was the big. It was
Yeah.
SMYG or SMJYP, Big Hit, and who was the fourth one? Can't remember who was.
Cube?
No, it wasn't. I think maybe
What
it was like
is-
Lowen or
Oh.
like Stone. I think it was Stone. Like just because that's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
CJ's company. Like CJ's
Yeah.
so big that
Yeah.
or it was something like that. But yeah, it was like they at this point YG the whole year YG stocks have been falling.
Yeah.
Their
I think it's
public
like,
perception's been nosediving. Like
Yeah, it's more of
It's-
like the fall of like I guess the symbolic big three, like the
oh yeah, exactly.
not like on the actual on paper big three, but like when you think of like everyone still has the mindset of the big three because they're
Mhm.
the three big companies that kind of produce like the best groups, And I feel like
Yeah.
YG, like I think that name is just it's gonna go away or like
Yeah.
it's just gonna be it's either I think gonna disappear or it's just gonna have the negative
Yeah, exactly.
association. I don't think they can really come back from this. And like, you completely
Yeah.
rebrand, rename them themselves
Yeah.
at this point. I
And
mean,
I feel like, not to interrupt you, but
I didn't have anything to say.
I feel almost like it's hard for me because YG always like brands itself as like it's the artists, like artists do everything. Like they have a lot of independent control,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
it seems like almost they didn't like know what was going on with their own artist or have any idea what was going on, or even worse, like they were kind of
Were
like
protecting-
cultivating this
Oh, yeah.
image, and then
That- Yeah.
it just seems odd to me that it doesn't seem like a coincidence that the label that puts the most emphasis on like how much control individual artists has also seems to have the most problem with managing their company.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I don't know.
think like well, first of all, to me it almost seems like they put that emphasis on like the artists get to do their own thing, but then YG had the final say in everything anyway, and just like didn't really because I don't think any of those groups would be putting out as little music as possible as they are if they had
that's
full
true.
control. But
Yeah.
they do pride themselves on like the artists are the like they were the main like idol producer company, like their groups produce their music and stuff, so that's where that came from. But yeah, I agree, like it's not, I feel like it's not a coincidence that the company run by YG, like the main, like I don't know, just like his personality and like just the aura he gives off, like it just never gave me good feelings. Like it didn't surprise me that like all this stuff comes out of his company. Now the other big companies obviously have their own problems. I remember seeing like a post on Reddit that was like talking about the big three, because Isuman now is dealing with like money laundering or something recently.
That's much more on brand for him though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, but
he's not gonna get caught for like prostitution rings.
No, yeah, exactly. And then JYP's got the whole like religious cult thing that's always been following him around. So it's like, yeah, pick the big three. Do you want like drug scandals, religious cult, or money laundering? But no, yeah, like YG just always seemed like the more like morally questionable company.
Yeah.
And it just sucks that also seems to have like led into the cultivation of the artists. Because yeah, obviously, like we've had these problems with Big Bang, we've had now these problems with iKon. Like, it's just seems like YG was okay with these things, so like the company itself was okay with these things and was willing to go to like insane illegal lengths to protect their artists and let them keep doing them. Where if JYP, I feel like, I mean, he's got like super healthy like
Yeah.
all that stuff. He's got the whole organic like cafe and stuff. I think if he caught his artists like smoking weed, I don't think he would be like going to the police and threatening them and getting the records purged. He would like kick them out.
Yeah, well, so I think one thing is like JYP and most other, like almost all the other companies really like they like produce like, you know, like idols.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
YG is not
artists.
about idols.
Yeah,
you know?
those artists, not idols.
Yeah,
I think they're
which
their
is
term
why
or whatever.
it like almost like isn't a shocker. I feel
Yeah,
like when
exactly.
it's a YG artist, like you know, because they don't have like the pure idol image, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and
like,
it's just like
you can't imagine Red Velvet just trying to buy $1,000 of LSD. Like that's just not something you imagine Red Velvet doing.
It'd be great if like that's like in their next MV, like their comeback is them just doing LSD.
I mean, it would fit all their music videos, so
yeah. Yeah, I don't see Irene running like a prostitution ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Like anything like that. But
so yeah, it is what it is. I agree. I think YG has to, like, the company itself has to just go away. I don't think they can keep using that name at this point. I mean, maybe they can come back. Public perception is very like fickle and fragile. Like people will forget about these things. The
thing is though, like I have to imagine this is not as worse as it's gonna get. Like
no, yeah, exactly.
There's gonna be more stuff that's gonna come out. So like I don't know what they're gonna do when like more stuff comes out, like in 2 or 6 months or whatever.
I want to know what happens when like Big Bang comes back from the military.
No, I think
like, they're coming back to this shit storm.
No, I think GD's probably gonna leave, and I think if GD leaves, and then because I remember I read this on Reddit too. I think it was because one of their biggest, right here, one of their biggest investors is like Louis Vuitton. I think I remember reading about this. Like a few years ago, they had like a long-term investment contract with them or something. And yeah, this person posted, I heard that GD will be out of the military in October, same month as Louis Vuitton making the decision on the money they invested in YG. So in 4 months, like this company could just be done if all that investment goes away and GD leaves. Like, what do they have?
If GD goes to Psy's company and I get GD and Edon in the same company, I will lose it. I would be the happiest person in the world.
Do we need 2 GDs in one company?
That would be so good. Like, give me an Edon and GD song. I want that.
But yeah, it's just like there's no coming back from between this and Burning Sun. Like, I just don't think there's any coming back from it.
Yeah. And then Somi's debut wasn't enough to distract us.
Yeah, but that's Black Label, so it has a little bit of separation at least, but still like
no one's making that separation though.
Yeah, I'm glad. Like, I feel like Epic High knew this was coming. The fact that they left last year,
I feel like even Psy knew.
Psy knew this. Knew. Yeah, like so many people jumped ship like in the last year. They knew this was happening. Like they knew this was gonna go down like soon.
Well,
and they're like, I need to get away from this.
Like, I have to imagine it's like an open secret among them.
Oh, 100%. Everyone knew this was happening. Yeah. Even like I'm sure other companies like trainees and stuff and artists know that this is happening. So yeah, it's honestly I feel like it's a long time coming. Like YG never gave me good vibes. So like I was like, I thought this should have happened a long time ago, to be honest. And I didn't think he was running the company well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a mess. that's really the best way to sum it up. Any last thoughts for you guys?
Well, I guess like the one thing is also to ask is like what happens to iKon and
Yeah.
just BI in
Oh, yeah,
general.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Like BI, it's like he was like I mean, for one with iKon, I only know two names, probably like most people who don't know anything about
BI
iKon.
and Bobby.
I know Bobby and BI.
Mhm.
Like the rest, they're there. I don't
Yep.
know their names.
Yep, same.
And like BI, like reading up, I'm like that dude has like an amazing like resume of like.
Oh no, yeah, he's an insane producer.
Yeah, I mean he's just done so much. Like he's been like on every like iKon album. Like he's done so much for YG, so for other artists. So it's like, is he gonna completely disappear from the industry, or are they gonna be like putting him like on the DL of like he's still helping out, but like nobody knows kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or is he just done? Like it's
I think so. Honestly, this depends on if he gets jail time or not. But
That's
I
true.
think despite like whether he does or not, I can't see him coming back into the spotlight. But I could easily see him becoming just a normal producer that's not an artist and just produces for other groups and just freelance, like not tied to a company. Because I'm sure, like, yeah, 3 years, like any company would love to have BI produce a song for them.
everyone's gonna
Like,
forget about this.
Exactly. Everyone's going to forget about, in terms of this. I don't think
Yeah.
people are going to forget about the YG, the company side of it, but for BI himself, like, yeah, people won't care that he tried to buy LSE and smoked weed in a few years, and he's a really talented producer. I don't, like, it, like, if he just goes freelance and just produces for companies, people are going to love that, and companies are going to pay him money to produce songs, like, despite all of this. But I don't see him wanting to or being able to come back as an actual like artist and in the spotlight.
I feel like it's one of those things where people his age like don't really care about like smoking weed. Like it's one of those things where it's highly illegal in Korea, but I don't think like young people really think of it as bad.
It's like the same thing here before, like even before like we started like decriminalizing it in different states. Like people our age didn't care. It just it was just illegal, and so people had to be cagey about it, but it didn't stop anyone. So yeah, I think it's the same way. I agree.
Yeah, and then another thing that I thought was really funny, when all this news was breaking, and like it's like immediately he was supposed to be on like 3 shows or something, and it's like they already edited him out. Like, news dropped, and then it was like the next thing's like BI's been edited out of this and this and this and this. Was like, wow. I wonder like how they did it, because I remember like with Top, there was like this one Weekly Idol episode where it's like the end of the year and they're like flashing back to all the episodes throughout the year, and there's the Big Bang episode. They literally put like a building over Top, like to cover him up. Like that was their way of editing him out. And like they're just this building, like this clip art thing. Like it's like he's not there. Like, so I'm like, I wonder how they did like these ones as well. Like I'm sure these were done better.
Yeah, usually they just cut any scenes of him, like either that he's in or one shots.
Like I lost it. I thought that was so funny. And then like I guess iKon's also still going to Japan, their Japanese tour. So iKon's still like doing their own thing. I guess
it's gonna be awkward with like -1 person.
Yeah, just like one of their biggest.
Yeah.
I mean, good thing they had their year when they did. Like 2018 was like the year of iKon.
Yeah, definitely.
And glad they at least had that, you know. But who knows now?
Any closing thoughts, Baron?
No, I don't think so. I think we nailed all the points.
Yeah. Last thing, another comment on Reddit pointed this out, and I agree with them. We need a just super in-depth documentary series on this past year of YG scandals. Like, just get these crazy inside scoops and talk with everyone. I want to know what's happening in like chronological order and everything, because it's so hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.